Cordell, let's continue talking college football here on Inside the Betting Lines, presented by BetMGM. The top 10 coaches poll came out this past week for college football. We are still waiting for the AP poll, which should come out here over the next week. Let me pull it up. And I'll read to you what the top 10 for the college football poll was, and then I'll give you what my top 10 is for college football. So the top 10 for the coaches poll: Texas number 1, Ohio State number 2, Penn State 3, Georgia 4, Notre Dame 5, Clemson 6, Oregon 7, Bama 8, LSU is 9, and Miami is number 10. I would expect the AP poll to have Texas and Ohio State 1-2 because they do play week 1, and just, to have that game 1 versus 2, I think they're going to do that. I would also expect Miami, Notre Dame, Clemson, LSU to all be in the top 10 as well, so that those games can be top 10 matchups as well. So I think that is going to be the top 10 that the AP poll has. Maybe it's shuffled a little bit differently, but my top 10, Cordell, would be as follows. I got Penn State number 1.
Wow.
I think they're the best team in college football. We'll talk about them in a little bit. Notre Dame, I'm going to put them at number 2. Team that won the national title last year, returned a lot of key pieces. True freshman taking over in CJ Carr at quarterback, but I think Notre Dame's going to be really good. I got them at number 2. Bama, I'm going to put them at number 3. Also an extremely talented roster. I think their defense is going to be absolutely fantastic. One of the best receivers in the country in Ryan Williams. All comes down to their quarterback, Ty Simpson. I'll put Texas at number 4. I think Texas is extremely talented. But again, I'm not buying the arch hype like so many are, so I'll put them at number 4. Georgia right behind him at number 5. Clemson at number 6, this most talented team Dabo's had in about 4 or 5 years. Clemson is absolutely good enough to win the national title. We'll put them at 6. Ohio State number 7. Extremely talented. I think they have the best 2 players in the sport in Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs, but they have to replace so much, not just on their roster, but their 2 coordinators as well. So I'll put them at 7. LSU, number 8. Oregon, we'll put them at number 9. Extremely talented team again for Dan Lanning and company. Then I'm going to put South Carolina as my number 10 team, Cordell, because of the quarterback. Me and you both, big Lenora Sellers fan. They were one of the hottest teams in the country last year to close the season, won 6 straight regular season games. And when you have a lot of production coming back, including maybe the best quarterback in the country, I'll put you in the top 10. So South Carolina, my 10th best team in college football. What are your takeaways, sir, from my top 10?
I mean, so I don't have a lot of problems with the back end. Definitely we agree on number 10. Who did you take out of your top 10 that's in the coaches? Somebody's got Miami's. Okay, we're together on that one. I've never really been a huge Carson Beck guy.
No.
I think that's a massive downgrade at quarterback, and the quarterback position obviously means a lot in football. So yeah, I agree with that. I think Texas is a little low.
Okay.
I think where'd you have Notre Dame?
Number 2.
Okay, yeah. I think it's tough to know with Notre Dame, to be honest with you. I could see them being a top 5 type of team again. They should get some respect after last year, no doubt. I don't have a big problem with that. I think Texas is a little low, though. I'll say that.
That's fair. I have Texas number 4, Georgia number 5. Penn State is my number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, that's. I just can't buy them. I just can't get myself to trust Penn State when you get into the back end of the season and you got the whiteout game and it's on ABC and everybody's watching and this is the big litmus test for them and they do what they do. I just can't get myself to buy in.
So everybody else is going to have that same thought, right? For people that don't buy on Penn State, it's going to be, I just can't do it. I've been burned too many times. It's James Franklin. I just know that when the game matters most, they're gonna break my heart. They're gonna let me down. But let me sell you on this idea, Cordell. In all those games that James Franklin has coached at Penn State, top 10, top 5 matchup, he really has not had the better team in any of those games, right? When he's played against Ohio State, when he's played against Michigan, Oregon in the Big Ten title game last year, when he goes up against those big-time SEC teams, like those Penn State teams just are not as talented as those other teams are. They're just not. And he's a great recruiter, but you can only do so much at Penn State. You're not getting the guys that Ohio State's getting, Bama, Georgia, etc. I think Penn State might have the best team this year in college football. Penn State is built like Ohio State was built last year and Michigan was built 2 years ago, the last two champions. A Big Ten team with a coach looking for his first title. You have an experienced quarterback in Drew Aller and a veteran roster, a team that has been together a long time, man. And they took the blueprint that those Ohio State Michigan teams did, where they could have had a lot of guys go to the draft. They could have had kids go elsewhere to other schools, but they all came back for one more year to try and win a national championship. And because of that, I think they have the best team. And the reason I'm willing to go to war one more time with Penn State, Cordell, is because James Franklin, as we know, does not beat the teams that are better than him, but he does beat the teams that he is better than. And if Penn State has the best team in the country, like I think they might, then all Franklin has to do is just what he's been doing his entire career and beat the teams that his team is better than. And if he does that and they're the best team, then they'll win it all. I'm comparing Penn State to Purdue in college basketball. I think they're very comparable, where Matt Painter and Purdue's program has these great regular seasons. They have these great teams. They get to March Madness. And Cordell, we don't with Purdue. We never trust them. We don't ever want to back Purdue in March. But even Matt Painter got to the national title game with Zach Edey, who was an all-time college player. That was his best team. And I think this is Matt Painter's Zach Edey team for James Franklin and Penn State. Now, Purdue didn't win the title because UConn was just a buzzsaw again that year. And maybe there's a UConn this year in college football. I lose my bet, and maybe Penn State isn't the best team. But I don't think there is a UConn buzzsaw. I think Penn State's the best. I think this is Franklin's Edey team, and I think Penn State finally gets it done. Now, it's not going to be easy. No part of this is going to be fun. There are going to be some stressful games. But I think Penn State gets the job done, and I think they win it all, Cordell. That's why they're my number one team.
Yeah, I mean, if all of that holds true, then it should work out for you. If they're the best team in college football, it should work out. I mean, they'll be tested plenty in their own conference, and as you get into the college football playoffs, when they're going up against the best teams in the nation, it'll all get put to the test. But that's the thing for Penn State. They're always one of the best teams, but can they win the big games? And that'll be the question mark for them this year, all over again. And I don't think anybody can quibble with the team that Penn State has. I think everybody knows they have a really good team, and honestly, their schedule is pretty favorable. I mean, outside of the Oregon game at home, you go to Ohio State. Other than that, I mean, Indiana, I don't think Indiana is going to be what they were last year. They benefited from the schedule. I don't look to Indiana to be one of the top teams in the Big Ten in general this year. I think their schedule will be very favorable to Penn State this year. You look at the back end, they don't have to go up against some of the juggernaut teams that they used to have to go against in the last 2 to 3 weeks of the season. This year, go to Michigan State, which could be a challenge, no doubt, at home for Nebraska, and then to Rutgers. Those should be layups. 2 out of 3 of those games should be layups for them. The test will be as they get into the college football playoff, will they be able to hold their own?
I think Penn State's schedule sets up really good for them. That game against Oregon at home is going to be the whiteout game. Dante Moore, who's still a young quarterback, is going to be on the road in that hostile environment. There's going to be a lot that he has to deal with. And Oregon has to play a rivalry game the week before. They have to play the Civil War against Oregon State and then travel across the country while Penn State's coming off a bye week. So I think it's a perfect spot for Penn State. And then I think Penn State actually goes on the road and wins in Columbus this year and beats Ohio State. The one game I think Penn State loses is at Iowa. Kinnick is normally where top 5 teams go to die. That's been a house of horrors for Penn State. I could see them losing that game, but I think they actually beat Oregon and Ohio State this year. Notre Dame, I told you, number 2. They made the title game last year. I really like their team again. Bama, I put at number 3. Cordell, everything that I've been hearing from my people, my friends who are very invested in Alabama football, they all say Ty Simpson's looked really good. He hasn't had an interception yet here during camp. So he's taking care of the football, and their defense, their secondary, has ton of NFL guys back there. So I think they're going to be really, really good. Texas, you mentioned you think they're a little low. I can totally buy that. I think that's totally fair. You can make Texas any of the top 3 teams, and I would buy it. I think defensively, they lost a lot in the secondary. They'll still be really good, but not as good as they were last year. And Receiving, running back, offensive line, they do lose some pieces. I'm worried about that. And quarterback, again, it all comes down to how good Arch is. Maybe I'm undervaluing him a little bit. I think Arch is somewhere in between Cordell, where people are actually viewing him and maybe where I'm viewing him. He's like somewhere in the middle, right around that range. But I'll have Texas at 4. Georgia, I think, is interesting at 5 because, Cordell, nobody's talking about Georgia, are they? Which is scary. Team like that, Kirby Smart, best coach in the country, coming off a down year where injuries kind of beat them up towards the end. Nobody's talking about the Bulldogs, and that kind of makes me think that Georgia definitely might be a bet potentially to win the SEC.
Yeah, and like you said, coming off of a down year, they're not going to have many of those. And Kirby Smart, he's a guy that he's on his players big time. He expects excellence out of those guys. So I would expect that this year he's going to be even more of a lunatic on the sideline and even more on his players than he is in the past. And maybe that won't work in his favor, right? Maybe it doesn't. You try to press too many buttons, you get a little tense, and you're not able to play as loose and free as you normally would. But I would expect that Georgia's going to try to throw their name back into the title contention hat.
I would agree. Clemson comes in at number 6, and I'm not the biggest Cade Klubnik guy. I've really never been like that big of a fan, and I think a lot of people are buying into what they saw against Texas in the college football playoff. I don't think he's as good as what he showed in that game, but Clemson's team around him, their defensive line's terrific. I love the move that they made in the offseason, bringing in Tom Allen to be their defensive coordinator. They got studs at receiver. Their running backs are really good. And the ACC, as we know, compared to the Big Ten and the SEC, certainly not as good. So Clemson, I think what helps them is they're going to benefit from an easy conference schedule, maybe have a little bit more in the tank than some of these SEC and Big Ten teams do, so that by the time we get to December, January, and the college football playoff rolls around, that could be a benefit to Clemson. But it really comes down to Cade Klubnik. The reason I can't bet Clemson to win the national title is even when they were going on that run where they were one of the best teams in the country, Dabo, the national titles that he won was when he had Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, 2 all-time great college quarterbacks in the last 10, 15 years, and Cade Klubnik just isn't that. He's a fine player, but he's not Watson or Lawrence were in college. So because of that, I can't bet Clemson to win the national title. So I think they're going to be good. I just don't think they're going to be national title good.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also think guys like Klubnik and maybe even a couple of other quarterbacks this year are going to get the benefit of there not being a lot of elite talent at the quarterback position, I think, in college football this year. I think that there are some guys that'll be talked up a lot throughout the year that if it was a normal year where there is more talent at that position, I don't know if they would be talked up as much. I don't think a lot of these guys that you're going to hear as you get closer to the draft season and these dudes that'll be entering the NFL, I don't think they'll be as good as some of the classes we've seen here recently. I think we are headed for a drop-off at the quarterback position.
Ohio State, as I mentioned, super talented team. I do think they have the 2 best players in the sport, but Cordell, they just lost a whole bunch, man. And they're losing their defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles, to Penn State. They lose their offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly, to the Raiders. And they're bringing in a new quarterback in Julian Sayin as well. They get Texas right off the bat. They have to play Penn State, Michigan, obviously, as well. I just think the schedule is tough for Ohio State. I see them winning 10 games, 10-2, getting to the college football playoff. It's just tough to go back-to-back, and I don't think they're going to do that. So I'm down on Ohio State this year as well. LSU, Oregon, South Carolina wrap up my top 10.